It's just about 5:30, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'll offer an invocation at this time, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. And Heavenly Father, we have mixed emotions, I'm sure, about the weather we've had this week, but it has made our city look so beautiful with the snow and all, and it's covered up a lot of things that sometimes we wish we didn't have to see. But we know that you can take away all the disappointment and things about us that we don't like to see. So it's just kind of a comparison there. And we take the good and the bad, and whatever you send us, we know that is a blessing from you. We most appreciate those that have kept us safe during this adverse time. We thank you for those that kept us fed and for those that kept us warm and dry. We have much to be thankful for. These concerns we lift up to you and ask for your goodness and your mercy to continue to abide in us. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is to approve the adoption of the business agenda. Did everybody got the piece that needs to go in, the sheet? Okay. So I guess we'll just approve it as it is presented to us now without any changes. And somebody's ready to make a motion.
Make a motion that we adopt the business agenda with the changes that have been given to us.
Okay, the motion is by Mr. Bell, the second by Mr. Steinbach. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Nobody under public comment, Madam Clerk? Okay, we'll move on to the City Council minutes of January the 20th, the regular meeting. We would need a motion to approve those when somebody's ready to do so.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 20th, 2026 regular City Council meeting minutes as drafted.
Okay, the motion, can you just hold off just 1 second before you do it? Motion is made by Ms. Bryant. The second was made by Councilwoman Jackson. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Minutes would be approved. So we move on to committee appointments. I call on the clerk for that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens. Julia Ann Fitt's term on the Roanoke Canal Commission has expired. Ms. Fitz is willing to serve another term, but she has served the maximum number of 2 consecutive terms. City Council has the authority to waive this policy and has done so in the past. A ballot vote was taken earlier, and Ms. Fitz received a unanimous vote. Therefore, I respectfully request City Council consider a motion to waive the city policy and reappoint Julia Ann Fitz to the Roanoke Canal Commission.
Okay, do we hear such a motion as asked by the clerk?
Mayor, I'll motion to waive the city policy and reappoint Julia Ann Fitz to the Roanoke Canal Commission.
Okay, motion by Mr. Steinbach. Do we hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bryant. Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved.
Okay, thank you. Now
Next.
for the Senior Center. Mr. Gary Arnett has submitted a volunteer application for the Senior Center Advisory Committee, which is enclosed in your packets. Mr. Arnett is eligible, and there is currently a vacancy on the committee with a term that expires August of 2028. A ballot vote was taken earlier, and Mr. Arnett received a unanimous vote. And therefore, I respectfully request City Council consider a motion to appoint Gary Arnett to the Senior Center Advisory Committee.
Okay, do you hear a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Gary Arnett to the Senior Center Advisory Committee.
Okay, the motion is by Mr. Strickland, second to the motion. Second by Mr. Jackson. Any more discussion on the matter? There be none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved.
Thank you. The Library Advisory Committee. Mr. Robert Creekmore Phillips has submitted a volunteer application for the Library Advisory Committee, which is enclosed in your packets as well. Mr. Phillips is eligible, and there is currently a vacancy on the committee with a term that expires in May of 2028. A ballot vote was taken earlier, and Mr. Phillips received a unanimous vote. Therefore, I respectfully request City Council consider a motion to appoint Robert Creekmore Phillips to the Library Advisory Committee.
Have such a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Creekmore Phillips to the Library Advisory Committee.
All right.
Second.
The motion is by Ms. Bryant and second by Mr. Bale.
Yes.
Mr. Bale. Any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Seven A is the presentation of the fiscal year 24-25 audit. Good afternoon, evening. Good to see you again.
So you each have a copy. Apologize, you're just getting it. It was approved just last week by LGC. We did mail out a packet, but apparently you didn't receive it in time, so I brought you some more. These are the financial statements and audit report for the year ended June 30, 2025. It was submitted on time to the Local Government Commission. So we're going to look at probably 6-8 pages of this report, and I'll talk about a few other things. Stop me if you have questions. I just need to speak up. Okay. All right. So we're going to start on the numbered page 1. Numbered page 1 is the independent auditors report. This is a 3-page report which summarizes the audit, your responsibilities, my responsibilities, and the results of the audit. The second paragraph summarizes pretty much the whole audit. It's an unmodified opinion. This second paragraph says, in my opinion, based on my audit, the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. What that means, it is an unmodified opinion. There are no material departures from GAAP and no material findings to be reported. So we'll look at some numbers as we go along. Page 16 is the balance sheet. Again, this is as of June 30, 2025. We have 2 columns. One is the general fund. That's your main fund of the town. The other is governmental funds, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, cash in bank at June 30, 2025 was $13.7 million. There's restricted cash a little bit farther down, $394,000 in cash, so total almost $14 million in cash at June 30. Debt is not reported in the general fund here, but we will talk about debt in just a few minutes in the notes. So the other number we look at on this page is third line from the bottom, and that's your unassigned fund balance. That was $12.2 million at the end of June 30, 2025. Local Government Commission looks at that as a percentage of your annual expenditures. Your annual expenditures were just over $19 million, so you had a 63% fund balance, unassigned fund balance. That's about the statewide average. Minimum requirement is 32, but you met 63, which is the average for statewide average for cities your size. So on page 18, we'll look at the revenues and expenses for the year. Total revenues, $20.4 million in general fund. Total expenses of $19.1 million. So there was a net profit, if you will, revenues over expenses of $1.3 million. And that's, general fund is just supposed to support itself. So anytime you have a surplus, that's a good thing. And we'll talk about some of the reasons for that in a few minutes. One of those will be your property tax collections. On page 20, exact same numbers with comparison to the budget. So one of the things we have to look for in compliance is you don't overextend your budget. So you'll see in the far right column under expenditures, there are no negative numbers. That means the accounting department kept up with what was being expended. They brought it to the board. You made budget amendments during the year. So again, there's no non-compliance for your budget. I mentioned debt, so we'll talk about debt on page 50. We're going to skip over quite a few pages in the notes because most of those are summarized in this last page on page 50, table at the bottom of the page. So we have 2 items of debt. The direct borrowings are just your loans on various equipments. You'll see we started the year, first line, $742,000, made payments, just over $150,000, so the debt at the end of June 30, 2025 was $588,000. The next line, that's your tax increment special revenue bond. Started the year $6.8 million, paid just almost $800,000 on that debt. So just over $6 million debt at June 30, 2025 remaining on that loan. You'll see lease liabilities. That's a new item in the report as of last year. We have to keep up with the liability for that, and that's various leases, vehicles, and other equipment. You'll see it's $1.9 million for that. The other items we've talked about several times, your net pension liability and total pension liability. Those are liabilities that are required to be reported on your balance sheet, but that's money already been sent into the state on a monthly basis for retirement of your employees. The last line, total OPEB liability, what that is health care for your retirees, and that's an actuarial evaluation at $6.3 million. On page 58, it's the same numbers we looked at back on page 18, but it's broken down by department, by category. You'll see the revenues are broken down in a little more detail, along with the expenses per department. Again, no negative numbers in the right-hand column for over expenditure budget. And you'll see it's about 7 or 8 pages, and we'll get to page 65 to come to that same number I mentioned earlier, $1.3 million profit. The other column we didn't talk about on your balance sheet, I mentioned we had a special project going on, and that's on page 67. We had some revenues reported for your CDBG revitalization program, $74,000. That was the only other special program, capital project that was going during the year. You see revenue 74 and expenditures of 74,000. One more number to look at before we talk about compliance. Page 71. I mentioned property tax collection just a little earlier. So you see in the third column, that's your total levies. The total levy was almost $9.8 million in property taxes. And you see you collected $9.7 million. That's a 99.32% collection percentage. That's a good collection percentage. I know the county collects it for you, but as long as your citizens are paying the property taxes and collecting that, then your general fund is able to do what you're able to do with it. So that's the financial part. With that, we look at your checks, invoices, bank reconciliations. We make sure you're complying with all general state statutes. This next page, on page 72, because you receive grant funds, you receive over $500,000 power bill, you receive a few others, and we're going to look at that in just a minute. We have to do what's called a compliance audit. And again, this letter is an unmodified opinion. There are no findings. Everything, all information we looked at, you comply with the grants as required. Page 74 is really the same thing, but because you received over $500,000 in state funds, the audit was determined to be a state single audit. And again, this is an unmodified opinion. So we'll look at where those numbers come from, and that's on page 79, I think, last page in our report. So you'll just see the two broken down, federal and state grants for the year. Total federal grants for the year, you'll see just over $200,000. And total state grants for the year, $669,000. So overall, increase in fund balance, net profit in your general fund, 63% of your available fund balance to be spent, which is, again, it's better than it has been, but it's right at the statewide average for your size of the city. We didn't have any changes in our recommendation in internal control. There was a software change during the year, which is always a challenge for everyone, but I think everything worked out well. That's pretty quick. Any questions?
The special revenue bonds, is that the theater debt?
That's the theater debt. Which I believe started out about 19 million. It's down to 6.
I thought it was more than that. Did we not get, it was like $900 and some thousand on the CBDG grant, or did that come last year? The reason that's kind of, I see a large number, but it's not, it went through so fast, I couldn't keep up with some of it. The $610,000, or $669,50 actually was the state grants, right, correct? 669,550,
Where we, oh,
79.
I'll pay 79, yes. That's the amount of grants that's spent. So realize, what
Spent.
this is money spent.
Okay.
So if you receive money in that you had not spent yet,
That's probably what
or
that is,
grants, then
because we
that's-
hadn't spent all that.
Well, in the 2022 CDBG program, we did, or the 19 program, we did spend all of that and
Right.
close that out.
Yes.
But then in the newer grant, we haven't even really, we just have gotten started in that fiscal year. And so, and we get paid on a reimbursement. They do not send us all of the money at once, and we draw it down. We have to actually submit for reimbursements. And so majority of that is in the environmental review phases and the red tape phases, I call them.
And when we submit for reimbursement, this done on quarterly or biannual or what?
Generally quarterly, or it just depends on the activity of the grants, and some are more specific than others.
The 32% you say that the state requests for us to keep in
yes.
fund balance, is that been raised a little bit in the last few years? I want to say 23, 24 was what it seemed like it was for a long time.
So for a long time, it was 8.
8,
But then they started recommending, and sometimes have adopted, that they wanted a minimum 25% fund balance, and that was just kind of a cushion kind of thing. But now they recommend a minimum 32% to maintain solvent, and what that is, that's basically 4 months of operations.
anybody else have any questions from the auditor? Do we need a motion to approve it?
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to accept the fiscal year 2024, 2025 audit report is given tonight.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Bell. Is second to his motion? Second by Ms. Bryant. Any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Did a good job.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
And I would like to say, give a good job to the workers that are down in finance and also the city manager. Good job, well done.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, B. Mr. Chalk.
Good afternoon, evening, Mayor and Council, citizens. Come before you for your consideration of a budget amendment for our storm response and recovery. If you remember, on May 16th, 2025, the city experienced a powerful storm causing significant damage. The city did not have specific budget funds for a storm event of this size, so a budget amendment in the amount of $250,000 was requested by me and granted by you for debris collection and removal. The city is still processing the storm debris, and let me reword that. We've pretty much processed the storm debris, but now we've got to finish up paying the vendor what's owed more than the original $250,000. Plus, there is a little bit of hauling left. And in the packet, we included a quote from MJ Price for some $23,750 for what's left on the yard that needs to be hauled away. So what I'm requesting is you adopt ordinance number 2026.06 in the amount of $71,828 to complete the storm response and recovery from the May 16th, 25 storm. And for sure, if you have some questions I can answer for you, I'll be glad to jump in that and try to help you understand any questions you may have.
I would just ask, $71,000 is is money coming in, right? Money we got back.
No, sir.
Money going
We
out.
haven't received any funds from the
Okay.
state. They're still processing our request. There was a tremendous delay in the beginning. Our city manager requested emergency management public assistance on June the 12th of '25. She went back and requested an update on July the 14th, and she got an immediate response that the documentation was circulating around state government. On 9/25, I emailed Buddy Wren to ask for help getting an update from the state emergency management on where our funding was, and immediately got a response from a lady in emergency management saying that our declaration package had been submitted to the governor's office. But somewhere along the way, somebody apparently got confused because we kept asking questions, and this past December, I got a reply that says, yeah, we're going to have to circulate it again. I think because of the tremendous damage done in the mountains by the hurricane, and because when I first called these people, that's where they were. They were already in the mountains, and so I think that could have contributed to some of the delays. So once we found out that we didn't have any funds coming in, we just started paying the vendor off the $250,000 that you had allowed us. So this is going to be the balance of what we owe the vendor. They've been very gracious to us. We've been in contact with them. And also their estimate of what's left to be hauled off. So that's what this $71,828 consists of.
Mr. Chalker, just so the council and the public understand, this, and I know you can probably expound on this, but this kind of debris, we can't just leave it sitting around forever. We have to get rid of it because we're only, our collection site is only certified for a certain amount. And I know, am I correct on that?
Well,
I think you can probably explain
Well,
that better
thank you
than I
for
just
asking that,
articulated.
because that's a very good topic that we probably need to talk about. Excuse me. We have our normal limb yard to where every day a knuckle boom is out picking up stuff in the alleys or in the front yards of people's homes, limbs, trimmings, and we take it to this permitted yard. It's permitted by the state. So for those normal collections, we have certain amounts that we're allowed to have on hand at any given time. We have to find on a revolving basis. We get it in, we grind it up, we have to haul it away. It can't get over a certain amount of cubic yardage. When we have a storm such as this, or such as a hurricane or an ice storm, where a bunch of limbs come down, then we permit a portion of that yard for emergency debris response. And so there is no limit for emergency debris, but you still got to do something with it because it's so much of it. And we collected 12,090 cubic yards of debris from about a 7-minute windstorm. And it's just, I took a guess at $250,000, never thinking that we would even spend that, but we just kept picking it up. And we worked on this storm for well over a month. And you'll see a lot of the invoices in the packet to where, you know, we had to call a vendor in to help us because we just couldn't handle it by ourselves. I hope that covered that.
I just wanted to make sure that the public understood we can't just let this just sit out there forever and everything. Something has to happen with it, and
Right.
it's not free to take it away. And
Oh, no.
Well, and additionally, the longer it sits, the more it has to be monitored, turned and temperature regulated so that it doesn't spontaneously combust.
Right.
And this is why a healthy fund balance is really necessary for us to keep around, because we're looking at almost $322,000 in expenses just from that one storm event. And so you can imagine if we have a few of those at one time, why it's important to keep our reserves, because you never know if you're actually going to get reimbursed or not, and the timing of those reimbursements is not as quick as it used to be.
And I can say from going out to where Larry was talking about, I've been out to the site where they stored it, and if you've never been out there, you need to go out there and you'll realize what he's saying. Once you get to a certain point, you can't put any more there. And you have to have somewhere to send it. So I can definitely understand that.
So the 71,828 is in addition to the 250, what we're kind of hoping
Yes, sir.
is going to take care of.
We've spent the 250,
Okay.
and now we're going to need permission to spend the rest of it so we can pay this bill.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? If not, we need a motion for this.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2026.06 in the amount of $71,828 to complete the storm response and recovery from the May 16, 2025 storm.
Okay, motion by Councilman Bell, second.
Second.
Was you, Kurt?
Yep.
Second by Mr. Strickland. Any more discussion? There being none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Thank you, Mr. Chalker. Shit, man, I gotta get to it. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. The senior center received SHIP grant funds in the amount of $3,799. So I'd ask you to adopt ordinance number 2026.07 in the amount of $3,799.
All right. Anybody, no questions? We need a motion to approve it. $37.99.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026.07 in the amount of $3,799 for SHIP grant funds awarded to the senior center.
All right. The motion is by Councilman Jackson. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bryant. Any more discussion? If there is none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Next is City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As far as some updates from the city administration, just want to share with you that some various topics. Our Main Street program, under the leadership of Director Ashley Thomas, is addressing district conditions through a comprehensive inventory of approximately 156 individual structures throughout the district. That includes uptown and downtown areas. This inventory documents building conditions, signage, vacancies, and usage. With the inventory substantially complete, the program is moving into a targeted next steps, including coordination related to zoning, code enforcement, and improvements in how city-controlled public spaces are maintained and used. A detailed report outlining the inventory findings, priorities, and the next steps will be presented at the next council meeting or the one soon thereafter as possible. Currently, there are a number of properties listed for sale or lease along Roanoke Avenue, and the Main Street program has those publicly listed through the website of mainstreetroanokerapids.com/properties. And any property owners that may be interested in advertising their property are encouraged to contact the Main Street Director. The next committee meeting will be held on Monday, February the 9th in the main conference room at City Hall, and all are welcome to attend. The Police Department is kicking off 2026 with a series of monthly community outreach initiatives to include community crime stats meetings. These meetings will be held at various locations throughout the city, with the first one occurring on Monday, February the 23rd from 6:30 until 7:30 p.m. at the RRPD Substation Community Room, which is down at the Newtown Resource Center building on West 3rd Street. During the year, the Police Department participated in 84 events and dedicated over 1,000 event hours of service. But one thing I was going to mention about these community crime stats meetings, it will offer the citizens and attendees the opportunity to meet with the leadership of the police department and hear about statistics and trends, as well as an opportunity to engage with the leadership and with our police department as well. The next offering of basic law enforcement training will begin at Nash Community College on February the 23rd. We encourage any interested persons to reach out to Captain Gorton Williams in the police department, or anyone really at the police department, for more information on becoming a police officer and entering that career. An update for the skate park: Dominion Energy is removing old light poles and will be installing new light poles and light fixtures. And the Parks and Rec staff will continue to install the fencing and signage for the facility, and we'll be meeting with Brightspeed, who is a $15,000 grantor and sponsor, to discuss a grand opening event. The Senior Center on February 10th at 10:30 will host the Halifax County Health Department for some health education programming. And also on the 11th, the Senior Center will have a Valentine's social. And on February 17th, there will be health screenings and a dementia class. At the TJ Davis Recreation Center, last week, the youth basketball season ended after the tournaments were held and the championship games were played. Staff are collecting information from the Adult Industrial League teams, and games will start about mid-February. On February 26th, the Parks and Recreation staff will host a basketball tournament with the local adult daycare program group. We encourage people to come and watch that. It's really a special time where our staff will play basketball against the local group that visits TJ Davis on a regular basis. And then spring program registrations are currently being accepted through the online registration portal called Rec Desk. For youth baseball and soccer, and softball will be available soon. At the library, they will have a kindness card craft program on February the 10th from 4 to 5 p.m. And then switching over to the planning department, building inspections plans are underway for Tractor Supply to complete a building renovation and install stations for pet washing. And the commercial tenant space that's currently inside of Walmart will be upfit for a Dunkin' Donuts. Recently, we were contacted from the North Carolina Department of Transportation's Environmental Analysis Unit. They are currently reviewing statewide smart signals, I guess for traffic signals, in Halifax County, and specifically within the Roanoke Rapids system, there are 22 existing signals intended to be served. The project includes installing new junction boxes with fiber connections to those existing ones. No changes will be made to the existing signal cabinets, foundations, or poles, but all work will occur within the rights of way. So when we start noticing that work taking place, more information will be provided. We recently received information from Department of Transportation. We were contacted a few months ago about a call for safety projects, and to highlight we sent in several pedestrian utilized intersections that could use improved treatments. Some of those in a lump were not approved, but the funding or the project was approved to move forward. Was consideration for pedestrian improvements at Roanoke Avenue and 5th Street, where unfortunately a fatality occurred months ago, but that intersection definitely needs some advanced engineering to improve the pedestrian safety at that intersection. And so that's moved to the next level through the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program. Other regulatory items: the 2026 Census Bureau Boundary and Annexation Survey is due this month. We have no changes to report since we have not had any annexations in the last year. On February the 23rd, we'll be meeting with DOT Rail Division to discuss a feasibility study for the Weldon Passenger Rail Project. And we have submitted our 2025 CDBG Annual Performance Report to the Department of Commerce. And then lastly but not least, a comment about our inclement winter weather that we've had. The National Weather Service has done a good job keeping us informed of the weather briefings forecasted for our community. And I just want to highlight that this takes a significant effort on the part of our city employees and staff, as everyone, for the most part in the public, gets to enjoy a snow day. We're faced with the challenges before, during, and after to try to mitigate these efforts and return things back to normal as soon as possible. These have been back-to-back weekend events where normally the staff may be off and so forth, but they're tired. They deserve some rest, but I just want to express my sincere appreciation for our staff, especially Public Works, Police, Fire. They've had to step up and do extra things in this weather, and so, and all the staff that help support them as well. So with that being said, we'll stay tuned for updates concerning the threat of potential inclement weather tomorrow night. Hopefully it will be just rain, but it's winter, and I hope it kills all the germs. Subject to your questions, that concludes my report for this evening.
Have you gotten any information from the group that's doing the survey or the analysis on the streets in town? Are they making any progress on that?
I don't have an update for you tonight, but I will make sure I get one to you by the
I
end
know
of
it's
the
not
week.
a time to be putting down asphalt now. but- Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Well, with that being said, we call for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Stainback, I believe second by Mr. Bell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We stand adjourned.